Toronto Raptors. The Raptors have been playing really bad so far. At the time of this recording, they're 1-6. It's Friday night, so if they play today, they might win, they might lose.
Who they
Who knows?
play?
I'm not sure. I don't even have the schedule in front of me, but their losses are to New Orleans, the Spurs, the Sixers, the
King.
Pelicans, the Celtics, and Phoenix as well. And their only win this season has come against the New York Knicks. And what's wrong with the Toronto Raptors? This is the team that finished with the top three seed last season in the Eastern Conference. And I mean, they lost Serge Ibaka, they lost Marc Gasol, but I didn't think that was going to be enough for them to take this much of a hit because I don't really know what direction they're going in. I feel like this isn't just a slump. I feel like this is who they're going to be. I don't see them making that resurgence and really proving the world wrong like they did last year this season.
Well, I want to start because I am a big advocate of saying Toronto is one of the more regular season teams. They're not a playoff team to me. They're just a team that's going to win a lot of games. And I think we all expected them to be really good, but they had a really bad start. And defensively, let's start with that. Defensively, they haven't looked too good. They're allowing a lead record 104 points a game. This is their worst start in 15 years. They aren't that good. Defensively, they aren't there. But I think what's been killing them is what I've been talking about for years. They don't have a closer. They haven't established a guy that can close games. They're second to last in fourth quarter points with 22 points a game. And they don't have a guy that can, like a Kawhi, or even at times a DeMar DeRozan back in the day, who can get it done at the end of games. Pascal has shown that he cannot be that guy. He is a guy who's very easy to control. He doesn't have many moves. His skill is still a bit short. And he's not like a Giannis guy where he lacks skill, but he's dominant in a sense where you don't have to worry about too much. This is a guy who's very skinny. The jump shot isn't all quite there. So you got a guy in Pascal who he hasn't elevated to that leading a team yet. And that's what I think's been missing this whole time, that fourth quarter finishing. And I think with Kawhi not being there, even with the DeMar DeRozan led teams, you've seen it. They weren't going to make a lot of noise in the playoffs in terms of getting to the finals, but they were always going to be a tough team in the regular season. 1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed. It was always going to win a lot of games with those DeMar DeRozan teams. And with this team, you just don't know.
Yeah, and I'll start by saying tonight they play the Kings, and I'll tell you one thing about the Kings, that is no gimme. A lot of people, including I think all three of us, did not expect what they've been this season, but they've been really fun to watch, and they've competed every night with some good teams out west. So that's going to be a tough matchup for them. But when you look at last season, they were about an average to above average on a good night offensive team, but their bread and butter was their defense. They were one of the best defensive teams in basketball last year. They had the second best defensive rating last season in the regular season. And then you come into this year, and while they've been about average to maybe slightly above average offensively, they have been below average, one of the worst teams in the league defensively. They lost a lot inside, and I think that switching Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka for Aaron Baines and Alex Len certainly did not help that. They have the worst rebound percentage in the league, and they're 25th in second chance points allowed. So that's obviously hurt them. Even when they're getting stops, they're giving second chance points to the other team, and that's no recipe to win games. And then offensively, what's really killing them is just their scheme. Like, they're 24th in the league in 3-point field goal percentage, but they're also attempting the most threes in the league. 43% of their points are coming from behind the 3-point line, and they don't shoot the ball well at all. And like Rib was saying, they just don't have that guy who can run the offense, who can take it over. I think they were hoping that Pascal Siakam would step into that role after the loss of Kawhi Leonard, and he really hasn't progressed much since then. I feel like he might have regressed in a way, especially last season in the playoffs and now continuing into this year. Him and Aaron Baines behind the 3-point line have been atrocious. They're shooting somewhere around 20% from behind the 3-point line. And so it's just been a bad recipe. I feel like nobody on that team has stepped up and become the guy. They're a great supporting cast, missing that number one, and it's shown so far. And I think Nick Nurse is a great coach. If anybody in the league was going to turn it around, I think he can do it. But I mean, it's not looking good right now, and there's a lot of teams out east that have been playing great to start the season, so they got to figure it out quick.
I don't think that this is a great supporting cast. I don't think this is the same Raptors team that we saw from a couple years ago or even last year. Um, Mainly because, look, these are the people that have been disappointments for the Raptors. Let's just call it like it is. Terrence Davis, he assaults a woman before the season starts. He has a lot of court trouble, legal troubles, and he's been really bad on defense. I can't believe he made the all rookie team over RJ Barrett, who's averaging 17 points per game this season. We'll talk about the Knicks later. But Terrence Davis has been a disappointment. He was supposed to improve. He didn't improve. He came into the league as a rookie being known as a guy who can shoot three and play really tough defense, and his defensive ability has completely gone away this season. Aaron Baines, you counted on Aaron Baines to fill the role of not only Ibaka but of Marc Gasol as well. And right now, even Marc Gasol had an off year last year, and I don't even think Aaron Baines is playing as good as Marc Gasol did for the Raptors last season. And there's a report that came out that said the Raptors wanted to re-sign both Ibaka and Gasol, but Ibaka refused because he didn't want to be with Gasol. He wanted to get more minutes and be the man. But I think the Ibaka loss kind of cancels out because Chris Boucher has been stepping up. He's been averaging 12 points per game. He's been a gem. But when you look at this team, Kyle Lowry, Van Vliet, Siakam, and then OG is there, but OG can't create a shot, and he hasn't been shooting too well. Fred Van Vliet is playing well, and Lowry, he's 36 years old, playing 36 minutes per game. You can't be playing a guy that old that much time, even though he's playing well. And you mentioned it about Siakam shooting. He still can't shoot. He's been playing better offensively as of recent, but another guy who's been a disappointment is Norman Powell. He averaged 15 points per game last season. He's at 9 right now. He's shooting horrible from the field. Maybe this is just a shooting slump, but you said it, Jack, and I think I want to correct you on this. They're a really bad offensive team. They're not only bottom 20, they're not bottom 20, they're in the high 20s in defense, but they're 23rd in offense. Like, this team is really bad offensively. They don't have that go-to option. They were hoping that was Siakam, but Siakam's not that type of player. Siakam can be the second best player on the team, second best scorer, and even then he has a lot of inconsistencies. Toronto Raptors, they're built on defense. You can win games in the NBA if you have great defense and you have a bad offense. Just look at what the Knicks are doing right now. They're 5-3 because their defense is so good right now. And right now, they're not playing defense well, and their offense is what it is and what it has been since Kawhi left.
And I think that was one of the things I always talked about with this team. Defensively, they were one of the best defensive teams in the league. They were going to win games on defense. But come playoff time, defense only takes you so far. In the fourth quarter, you got to win games on offense. You got to have that guy who can take over a game. And they just don't have it. And right now, another thing I want to get on is this year they're averaging 14 free throws a game, which is nearly a 10 drop from last year. It was at 24. Now it's at 14. So they're just not getting the calls defensively. They're not doing it. They're allowing 45% from the field. So they're just not doing what they usually do to win games. And I think that is going to hit them early on. And I think another thing, every team this year, they didn't have a lot of training camp. So I understand that from an aspect. They're still trying to figure out rotations and figure out how to play with each other in a sense. But I feel like the Serge Ibaka, even though Kuz Boucher, like you said, is averaging 12 points, Serge Ibaka, the way he can stretch the floor, he can shoot the jump shot, he can block shots. I feel like that is missing in that offense. And because right now the bigs they have just aren't as respectable as Serge Ibaka.
Boucher can too. He's shooting 38% from three right now. So he's been able to stretch the floor. It's really been Aaron Baines. Aaron Baines hasn't been as advertised. He came off a career year in Phoenix and he came to Toronto, and he's not playing like that at all.
Do you think they can turn it around?
I mean, I don't have much faith in turning it around. This is what I'm going to say. If you keep this team together, can they turn it around? Possibly. But the real question is, do you want to keep this team together? Do you want to keep Kyle Lowry? Do you want to trade him and get some assets back? And give Malachi Flynn some minutes and develop him. They are in a stage right now where they have to start asking questions about whether they're good enough to compete. Do you trade Kyle Lowry? Do you try to make a blockbuster move for James Harden? There's a lot of question marks. What do you do? And this is something that Masai Ujiri is going to have to figure out along with Nick Nurse is that what direction do they want to head in right now?
Yeah, one other thing, we had mentioned how they're clearly a team lacking a superstar number one. One place that becomes very evident is watching them at the end of games. I've seen them a bunch of times in the fourth quarter. They've been in close games this year. They lost to the Spurs down the stretch. They lost to the Sixers down the stretch. They lost to the Pelicans down the stretch. So, like the Suns, they lost down the stretch. So they've been in some close games. It's not like they're getting blown out. All of their games really have been pretty close. But when it comes down the stretch, when they need a big shot, they don't have that guy to give the ball and tell him to take over like all the other great teams in this league do. And that brings me to my point. Like you said, what direction do you want to go in here? You got your championship. You have your championship to hang your hat on, and you can confidently turn this around and say, we did what we had to do to win that championship. And now we're turning a new leaf over in our franchise history. Send Kyle Lowry to a contender. Someone will overpay for him at the deadline because there's going to be some team that thinks they can make a run and need that point guard. I know his contract is massive, but I'm sure they'll find somewhere to fit him.
I
And
think
if
it's
you,
a rental.
No,
yeah,
it's on a 1 year.
exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. And if you start going in this, rebuild cycle, there's not many executives in the league I would trust more than Masai Ujiri to turn it around quick. He's done an excellent job there since he took over. And you give him some assets, I'd like to see what he can do.
But then again, okay, so you guys said just the 2021, 2020. Okay, yeah. So you guys say trade Kyle Lowry, right? How much do you think you can get out of him though? If he is on a 1 year rental, he is 36 years old.
First
There
round
is
pick.
from where though? Because there isn't a lot of teams who have the cap to offer that. And how much are teams willing to give to get Kyle Lowry?
I think they're gonna get a first round pick for Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry is really good. He's a really good player, still an all-star level player. If Marcus Morris last year got traded for a first round pick, then Kyle Lowry is gonna get a first round pick back. They could maybe get two.
Yeah,
They
but
possibly get it. They
that's
could they're
16 mil to 33 though. That's different
Yeah,
contracts.
I understand the contract is big, but it's hard to say now. But when you get to the trade deadline, I would feel pretty confident in saying that there's going to be a team that's maybe in the mix or borderline. Like one move could really make a difference for them. And I feel like somebody will pull the trigger and at least give up
And
a
then
first round pick.
back to the James Harden thing. What do you give up? Like you're gonna have to give up a lot to get him, but when you do get him, how much is the team still gonna be intact where he can say, "All right, this is the team I can win with"?
no,
Because if
yeah,
you
of
get,
course.
I'm pretty sure Pascal's probably gonna have to go if you get James Harden.
Yeah.
No, yeah, of course, but that's the decision that they're gonna have to make, and what direction do you want to go in? If you trade Lowry and then you kind of you're hoping that your team remains bad, now you got a shot at Cade Cunningham, who his we know probably is going to be a star, but not only him, you have a chance at a lot of these other great prospects in the draft, and in this modern lottery, you can get those top picks even if you don't finish at the bottom of the barrel. But right now they're 1-6. Their next 10 games are against Sacramento, Golden State, then Portland, then Charlotte twice, then Dallas, then
Golden State,
Miami
baby.
twice, then Indiana twice. So their next 10 isn't an easy schedule. They could possibly be, maybe I see wins against, maybe they could be Sacramento. I see Sacramento. I could see them beating Charlotte as well.
It can't be my Warriors, man.
Golden State, Portland, Dallas, Miami twice, Indiana twice. Damn,
Indiana's gonna be a dogfight.
that's 7 losses right there. So it's not looking good. Their schedule is really tough to start the year.